Hi, it's Graham, and I'm joined by Cato and Sammy from Acid Bath. We're here to chat with you a little bit about your band's reunion and your upcoming show at the Fillmore Minneapolis in August. Thanks for joining us, Sammy.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We wanted to ask you the first date of your reunion tour was announced as Sick New World this year, and that was the only date at the time. But then the festival was canceled. Was that initially planned as like a one-off show reunion, and then after it canceled, you guys just decided to go on, or was that kind of a catalyst, or what was the initial plans for a reunion?
Well, the whole thing was Sick New World reached out to us, and you know, I guess we figured it was time, and we were like, okay, we're just gonna do this one thing, and that's it. And then everybody in the group started feeling really good about what we were achieving in rehearsals. So we're like, for all this work that we're putting into making this happen for one show is kind of beside the not beside the point, but it's a lot of work to put into one show. So we're like, you know what, let's do a couple and see how everything goes. And here we are now, basically. So it basically just snowballed into this whole thing. And it's unfortunate that Sick New World got canceled, but that was like basically they were the first ones to really reach out to us and be like, um, would you guys be interested in reuniting for one show? We really want you guys on Sick New World. And we thought about it, we talked about it for a long time, and you know, and we were just like, yeah, fuck it. Let's fucking do it. Let's see. Well, initially, we're like, let's get in the practice room and see what happens first before we can give you a definite answer of what we're going to do. Because, people change over the years and stuff, and if we would have gotten the practice room and it wouldn't have sounded right or, whatever reason it would have made the situation not fun, we would have been like, no, we don't want to do this. It's just not in the cards. But everything went well with all the rehearsals, and everybody got along great, and everybody sounded fantastic. So yeah, you could say that Sick New World was a catalyst to this. So, but yeah, we were like, okay, everybody's getting along, everybody's sounding good. Why not take it as far as we possibly can? You know?
So were you guys staying in touch even before the Sick New World plan? Were you guys just talking casually to each other? Were there ever
We
any like, hey, maybe we should do this? Or
Not really. We would talk casually every now and then and just check on each other, every couple of years, every year, we talk a couple of times a year, every once in a while, just to check on each other and stuff like that. But, there was no real discussion of getting together and playing music. It was just like, hey, just checking in and see how you doing. And let's go get some crawfish one night or something. I haven't seen you in a while, you know? Uh, but, there was no real talk about actually playing music together as Acid Bath until like Sick New World actually approached us and said, "Hey, what would it take to make this happen?" And then we were like, let's think about this." And I'll tell you like this, because that whole thing leading up to Sick New World was like a year and a half to where they approached us to where the festival was going to be announced. And
okay,
there was a stipulation where it's like you can't say anything about this to anyone until we announce the show. And to be honest with you, that was the hardest secret to keep for a year and a half, because everybody was so excited about it when everything started rolling, and the band started gelling, and everybody was kicking ass on their instruments and vocals and stuff. It was everybody was extremely excited about this. And it was a very hard secret to keep for that long. And I know there
that
was
that
little snippets of leak things. It's kind of weird. I would assume that you hear Acid Bath sounding exactly like Acid Bath coming out of this building. and people were like, "Is that them?" But yeah,
It's awesome.
You
So
guys
when you
have
had
like a
this
renowned.
tour,
Oh, sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead,
Go
Greg.
ahead, Tato.
Go
No, go ahead.
ahead. So when you had this tour kind of announced, and or you decided you were going to tour, were there certain cities you definitely wanted to hit? Were there certain ideas on the tour, or was it just we're reunited, we're going to play for as many people as possible?
yeah, we didn't really have any target cities. We are just like whoever wants to welcome us into their city and do a show, we're more than welcome. We're more than happy to oblige. So there was no really like, well, we have to, well, I take that back. The only thing that we really were adamant about was before Sick New World, we definitely wanted to do a local show here. So that was the only thing that we discussed to where it's like, okay, the first show has to be here in Louisiana somewhere. And it turned into two shows, which was great. But that was the only thing we really discussed as far as like a target city.
Yeah, that's great. Did anyone like think that there's a renowned acid bath cover band practicing in your same spot or something like that? Did you have to debunk rumors or something like that?
I mean, like I said, we couldn't really talk about it,
Yeah.
until Sick New World announced that we were playing. So it was just like they were murmurings, that they're getting back together, and I heard them when I was driving down the street, and it had to be them because nobody else really can sound like that, unfortunately. But you know, the rumors start flying. Nobody, the whole thing is that we pretty much kept it to ourselves and just and in interviews leading up to that, I guess I had kind of not really came out and said it was happening, but kind of said it was gonna happen. Not really, no, not really coming straight out and say, "Oh yeah, it's happening." Just little cryptic messages for the Acid Bath fans that we were coming.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's great. I mean, I was super excited. I was a bit younger when I first got into the band, and it was after you guys had already disbanded. Forgive me if that's not the correct term you'd like to use, but when I started seeing those shows pop up, I was super excited because I figured it was just an era of music I was never going to witness live. But when I did see them, and Windhand support locally here, which we absolutely love them. We play Acid Bath and Windhand on our show regularly. But big fan of a lot of the support, and it's unique to, I feel like each market kind of has its own billing. How has like that process been decided, or is it just like you guys reaching out, or because it's not like a uniform tour with select, unless I'm misread it a bit, but it seems like you guys have kind of different support in every city.
Well, we kind of sent out a list of bands that we would thought would be a good match to us because Acid Bath is such a unique band that we
Yeah.
could almost fit into any genre we want to because the band is so weird. And
Mhm.
but we were like, okay, we came up with a list of the bands that we thought would fit with us, or bands that we are friends with, or bands that we would like to see live that play with us as well. So we just sent out a list of bands, and we would reach out to these bands, say, "Are you available on this date? Let's make this happen." And
Yeah.
sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But so far, all the lineups, in my opinion, have been fantastic. So
No, I totally agree. And I was like, when I started thinking about, like, I didn't really know or like read into the news too much about what you guys were doing, but I just keep seeing more dates with like High on Fire or Windhand or all these things. I was like, what is happening? So, like, I was even more interested to bring that up. But that's awesome. You guys are in the position to have the reunion and to kind of, pick and choose, for lack of a better term, at all these great acts to bring along with you. Because I know as like a fan of, this type of genre, it's just almost awed. I'm in awe of like seeing those dates pop up. Um,
yeah, I mean, and another thing, there were bands that the promoters would propose to us that would want on these shows, and a lot of the times we would just shut it down because like I don't think that would be a good fit for us. And the whole politics of it is like, well, this band's really popular and stuff, and it's like, well, I don't really care about that. I want to play with a band that I feel would fit with Acid Bath, rather than pick some popular hype band that is drawing a lot of people. You know, I think we're doing pretty good on our own. That we don't really need that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, your lineups. I think, like you said, they're fantastic. I think it's awesome. Like as a fan of pretty much all the bands I've seen on all the bills, it's just fun to watch them pop up and see who you guys got in different cities because you could go check out multiple dates and see different lineups. I'm guessing different sets from you guys too. So,
Yeah.
do you guys have any plans for further out from 2025, or kind of like you talked about earlier? Are you just rolling with however long you can kind of keep this kind of system up, and if people are interested, you keep going, or not sure yet?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. As long as the fans stay interested in this, I'm sure we'll continue to do this. And I think, we were talking about this last weekend at the last show in Florida. We don't really want to run it into the ground. When
Yeah,
we start losing interest, when people start losing interest in this, we're just going to bow out gracefully. Instead of just running it into the ground and just kind of tarnishing the legacy, I guess you could say.
sure. I mean, it's just awesome to see you guys back for sure.
So as you're getting in the room and you're jamming together and you're doing these shows, have you discussed possibly recording new music, or is this going to be a live thing only? Have ideas come about as you're getting together?
No comment.
That sounds like a confirmation that's not a confirmation, but we'll go with that.
Well, let's just put it this way: we'll see what happens. You know,
That's awesome.
you never know. Stranger things have happened in this world, and stranger things have happened to me in my life. So, I'm gonna say never.
Cool. And I see you've had some like headline shows, you've had some festival dates and stuff like that. Is there a preference for you guys? Is there kind of like I would imagine the set list isn't much different, but I guess it isn't shorter on festival shows. But do you guys have a
Yeah,
preference of the type of show?
I definitely prefer the headlining shows over the festivals because the festivals are such a chaotic scenario to be in as far as a band. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to think a festival, on a normal day at a festival, there's fucking over 20, 30 bands, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the logistics behind that actually putting on the show is like even in the backstage area of it's just it's just craziness, just you know, trying to regulate, stay on time and play your set, not get cut because you go over time. It just I don't really like that whole hectic kind of vibe that a festival is as far as you're playing. I definitely prefer the headlining shows because it's a lot more relaxed. It's a, you know, it's oh, that's the only way I can really put it. It's a lot more relaxed in a headlining show, our headlining shows, because you don't get burned out. You don't have to be there super early, and by the time you play, you're worn out. You're already tired. Um, but yeah, the headlining shows are definitely easier than a festival show as far as from a performance standpoint.
Yeah.
Sure. I know your album art to me is iconic to some degree, I guess. I don't know if that's just me personally or a thing you run into a lot with fans. But is there any like history or kind of unique aspects of the album art on When the Kite String Pops or Pagan Terrorism Tactics? Like, I think both of those albums, when I first saw them, it just kind of stuck with me as kind of almost like cartoonish horror, maybe. And forgive me if I'm stepping on toes here, but they always kind of stuck with me with the Gacy art and stuff like that too. But was there any story, or like, did you guys have friends that's a local artist, or where did that kind of come from?
It came from basically the five of us at the time couldn't agree on artwork for the album covers. Basically, is what happened because we were all bringing different ideas, and when you have five unique individuals like we had at the time, our opinions were pretty extreme, So the five of us couldn't agree on any album artwork. Then, the idea was proposed to us of using the serial killer artwork. And, at first when we saw it, we were just like, you know, this is kind of weird. You know, if people don't know the backstory to this, it could be kind of off-putting. But then, you know, the more we thought about it, it kind of made sense for us to chase down that fucking idea, you know, because it's just, if you read a lot of the lyrics, you know, and if you read a lot into a lot serial killers, you know, their stories and what they were thinking when they were actually murdering people and stuff, you know, it's kind of like the lyrics are kind of like inside the mind of a serial killer, to be honest with you, you know. So it kind of made sense in an accidental way, you know.
Yeah. And obviously I think like there's almost been like a fetishizing of a lot of serial killers, even more recent years of like Netflix and stuff and streaming series to get into that too. But no, that's great. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you hopping on with us for a bit to do the interview.
Absolutely, man.
And you will be here August 9th at the Fillmore Minneapolis with Windhand and Primitive Man. So
Yes.
we're looking forward to the show. It's going to be
Yep,
a stock lineup.
that one's going to be a heavy one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We do like that.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
thank you so much.
absolutely.